Today I'm talking with Anita White, an empathic life coach at White Lighter Coaching Quest. Her focus is to teach others how to center their outcomes and explore what they're truly meant to do in their lives. Through a specific process, she empowers others to recreate perceptions, attitudes, and actions. Her clients find self-love, joy, and abundance in all areas of their lives. In just a few sessions, they feel a greater sense of contentment and focus for their life's purpose. They improve their inner relationship that promotes healing in spirituality and personal development. Ultimately, she helps her clients achieve quantum changes by simple corrections of thought patterns and attitudes. One good impact has been to help other coaches define their goals and promote themselves so that they can get their message out in a bigger way. Welcome today, Anita.
Thank you, Joni. I'm glad to be here.
Great. I'm glad to have you here as well. Well, to begin with, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your history and how did you get to become a life coach?
Well, with my path, it started a long time ago with knowing that I could bring something to people that was very intuitive and empathic. And because of unfortunate traumas that happened to me as a child, I was in a household where I had a very angry parent. And there was a lot of things that I felt like I had to protect myself about with my emotions and my body. He was quite violent, and so I learned to operate from the inside out instead of being on the outside. Like many kids, they're just operating with what's in front of them. But I was much more primal and instinctive. And I think that's where my empathic abilities started to grow. In my teenage years, I was placed in foster care with a preacher and his family, and learned the concept of having a God of my understanding and spirituality, and that inner life grew even more, where I realized there was a divine power growing through me, in me, and that I had an impact on other people's lives. Unfortunately, that situation grew into something that was quite insidious as well. My foster father was a pedophile, and I was a victim as well. And being a young adult, I believed that I was supposed to get married and have children and grow and flourish as a housewife. And so I married at a very young age, 18, and I had a couple of boys at a very young age, 19 and 20. And unfortunately, that marriage ended in divorce because my husband was violent. So I had a set of patterns that were instilled in me from the time I was a child until I was a young adult. So I spent many years trying to undo those wounds, released that trauma from my body, mind, and spirit. And so I had different sets of techniques operated on me so I could become a whole being. And back in 1983, I started a path in recovery. I had addictions, I had really dysfunctional defensive mechanisms. I did a lot of things that kept me protected from that outer world. And as I started to do an inventory of the deficiencies in my character and started to build on the assets that I claimed, I realized that there was a set of things that happened to me to change me dynamically. From being a very shy, quiet woman with my hair in my face, thick glasses on my eyes, where I did not want to see the whole world and I did not want to be seen. That changed to be a very dynamic social person. I started doing facilitating support groups for people, grief groups, single and married groups. I started facilitating groups for children that were predisposed to chemical dependency because one or the other parent was. And I was able to get in touch where the developmental stages in me were inhibited because I started working with children that had that. And I was able to see so much more easy with the children that they could change quickly in a week's time with just knowing that they could have feelings, that they could see what their defenses were and let them down, to see how their families were normal even though they were different, and to see how they could take risks with people and that they had choices. And of course that healed a little bit more in me. So I integrated that into how I teach. And I found that I have an empathic way of looking at things and seeing things that intuitively I'm able to give people direction. And I realize that that divine being that I let into my life as a teenager is what flows in and out of me in order to help direct people to go in the right place. And it's always about their choices, about how and when they go. And that's what happened to me. As I have been in recovery 27 years, I found that people that are kind of in the advanced stages, they've gone through their steps, they've got a great sponsor, and at some point they realize they have pretty much recovered and they have a full life, but they haven't found their purpose. And a lot of times that's where I jump in. Well, that's what happened to me. Back in 1983, started college, started working on myself, started going to therapy, and found myself moving to the Twin Cities to do some things with the government, and was very different than what I had started out to be. And the process of that growth and all of the different modalities that came into my life, I wanted to bring in one channel and deliver to other people. So that's how I got started as a life coach.
Gosh, I didn't know before this, Anita, that you had had such a traumatic childhood, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's a tough stuff to make it through. On the other hand, by the grace,
absolutely,
you've come to where you are today, so more power to you. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to me sometimes that those kinds of experiences crush some people and spur others on. So I'm glad that you've been a person who's been spurred on by it, and you have good things going on at this point.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to sort of the next piece for us, can you tell me a little bit about the kinds of people or the kinds of clients that might come to you for assistance?
I have clients in almost every walk of life, accountants, teachers, lawyers, people that are just working on a line trying to get through the day, salespeople, dynamic, wonderful salespeople. I was in the real estate profession for a number of years, and I found that they're reinventing themselves right now.
I bet.
And so I'm helping a lot of them grow and change. The kinds of things that I see mostly are where people are kind of stuck with something, or they're stuck with a trauma and they don't know that's what it is. They come and they present themselves with, I can't make any changes in my life. I'm stuck with how it's set up with this job, and this is my house, and I'm feeling really complacent, or I'm depressed. That shows up a lot. And I need to do something. Help me. And of course there's a history lesson there for everyone, just like we had today about my history. That's what I do. I'll find out what their history is and see if there's things that might be blocking the road a little bit where they're rerunning that. And most of the time it takes about 3 to 6 sessions to really get that comfort level so they're ready to make a big change and start some of the techniques that I have. There's a lot of people that I help that are parents that are stuck with, in their old role as a parent, what their parents did. So I give them techniques to try with a new parenting style and how to listen better, how to redirect their children better, how to work with the administrations at the schools to get them advocating for the children. Because if we are reacting, we're not acting and being proactive about what avenue we're taking. And I realize that many people don't know that they're thinking. So finding out what they're thinking first and how it's coming out of our mouths. Linguistically, we tell ourselves exactly who we are, and our words project out into the world who we're going to be. So I'm not necessarily in the therapeutic field where I'm taking a lot of what happened in the past, although I can do that to revisit that, but really how that has impacted the present and how that client is going out into the world. And we can change that. It's not just a persona. It's like you and I both have physical presence, public presence, but at home to our kids, our families, we're different people. Well, the integration of that, being able to bring that joy and that demonstrative love out, is in our workplaces too. but because of how we're centered and how we think we are, the client is going to take that on as well. So if I say you can, they say I can. If they say I can't, some of it is to change how they're bringing that out. And I'm a firm believer and a lover of Louise Hay's work. And so I'll use a lot of her affirmations to help people think clearer and realize where they're at. And they have ailments in their bodies. I had some problems with my neck, a couple of surgeries, and I use the affirmation that the universe supports me. I am healthy and happy in all the ways that I can be. And after a while, my body started believing me. Instead of, I can't do this, I'm so tired, I just want to sit around. We change our physiology by what we say.
Got it.
So, but yeah, my clients, a lot of them have either depression or they have some physical thing that's limiting them, job changes, career changes. I started working with teenagers recently. It's just phenomenal. I've got a manifesting group, and they're so ready and willing to take on what the power of intention does. So in this Young People's Manifesting group, what we do is we just have kind of a check-in period to begin with. And each member just says what's going well and what's not going so well in the previous week, and things that they might have noticed that they had been talking about last week that they wanted to kind of create and do better in. And then we review some of the top 7 ways that we trip ourselves up in manifesting our dreams, such as, like, the first one is focusing on what you don't want. It's the most common mistake that people make. It seems obvious, yet there's a very subtle distinction between thinking about what you want versus what you don't want. And even the word want itself can trip us up. So a lot of people think in lack and being without. I can't afford it. It's too much money. Those are all affirmations about what's coming into your life. Be aware of the words you use and the images it creates in your mind. The second is that giving attention to the obstacles. Sometimes it seems as if our brains are hardwired to automatically recount all the reasons we can't have what we want. This is where we build your brain muscle to get in the habit of refusing to entertain the facts or the truths as to why your desire won't appear. A lot of people go to their history and say, I've never been able to do it before, so why could I do it now? Or this happened to me so many years ago, so it's going to happen to me again. And reflecting on different job situations, repeating themselves. So thinking about reasons that you won't get what you want keeps those obstacles strong and powerful. So let go of any thoughts that stand between you and what you want. Noticing what you still don't have is the third one. Determining factors in how quickly you receive what you're asking for, how much you want it, how easily you're allowing it, believing in it, having time for it. Many times it's just our fleeting thought that connects us with what's the next thing that will come again. And again, focusing on what you don't want resists what is going to come into your life. So instead, when you find yourself noticing you still don't have it, know that it's on its way and it will soon be here. Remind yourself that you're the creator who manifests what you choose, and you co-create that with a higher source. And if there's an agreement and a pattern of change is in order, then it's just a matter of time until you see that presenting itself. Letting limited beliefs stand in the way is the fourth one. We have limiting beliefs that are very tricky because usually we're not even consciously aware of them. If you're doing everything right, you still don't have what you want, it's time to look at your beliefs. It's easy enough to want financial prosperity or the body of a supermodel, but deep down you think rich people are what's wrong with this country, or inherited fat genes from mom's side of the family are holding your beliefs. So if you think, I have problems because of this parent or that parent, we always make reference to who we identify with. And watch what you're saying, because it comes out, those beliefs, are, if strong enough, will keep you from getting what you want. Do some soul searching. Get a handle on your core beliefs. Just becoming aware of false belief can often take it away and dissipate the process. And also reprogram yourself for supportive beliefs. The fifth one is not believing it's yours. Many of us live in a perpetual state of wanting. The key to manifesting is to believe this thing you want is already yours. Live it, breathe it, feel it. I have a new car. I can think in my mind, it's coming down the road right now. I just don't have the keys. So I will have the keys. That puts you in a vibrational alignment with your desire, allowing it to appear effortlessly. The sixth one is ignoring your inspired call to action. When you're properly aligned with what you want, you'll see evidence of it accumulating, and you may feel inspired to take certain actions. Listen to your intuition, follow your hunches, and take action that feels good. It's common for overachievers to make themselves busy and taking steps they believe are required to manifest their desire. But only inspired action is helpful. Frantic activity will introduce resistance, so slow down. Just enjoy the process. And then the seventh one is really basic human need, not feeling good. If you've got something that consistently brings you down, whether it's your job, your health, your spouse, situations with children, or just not having what you want in your life, you're discontent, you're irritable, maybe you don't even know what it is that's bringing you down. You're running a vibration that makes it difficult for the universe to deliver the good things. One of the best things you can do to get what you want is to start taking steps to deliberately feel good. You'll be amazed at how things come together when you start eliminating what you're tolerating in your life and start feeling better. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to turn your life upside down, but you can also choose to change the way you feel about things. One of the things that I have clients do, and the kids in the group do, is to write a gratitude list every day. 10 things you're grateful for before you go to bed, or first thing in the morning, depending on your mood. And to find time to be quiet somewhere that's peaceful and beautiful. We have such wonderful nature here in the St. Croix Valley. Find a place by the water and just sit for 15 minutes and see what transpires. That kind of meditation will inspire you to be receiving from the universe and receiving from God. And then do something outside of yourself. Find a way to serve other people and not get some kind of reward from it. Just engage and simply give something. Open a door. Give a smile when you don't want to. If you can, volunteer in the community so you're giving to other people without having the expectation of return. That kind of service invites the universe to give you more, because you can't give without receiving. So if you give out the intent that you're ready to receive. In our group, we go through 8 weeks. Each week has a topic, and we discuss what it is to set the outcome for what it is that the kids want in your life. So our first class or session, we look at what it is that they really, really want, what exactly it is. Look at the outcome, and it's just absolutely crystal clear. And what's exciting is these kids have a really good eye. They know exactly what they want. So what I do is have them do what I call a brain dump, and they just write down their 20 burning desires. And then from that, we take a look at the things that are must-haves. They're essential versus non-essential qualities of the ideal that they've defined. The other thing is the third thing that we do, the third week, is that when you feel good, we think of ourselves as having these items. So we start associating with their feelings with these outcomes. And so the kids write a vision letter about what they see coming to them and how it's coming to them and who's involved and what their resources is. And the stronger the emotion, the more vivid in detail, the better and sooner they tend to manifest it. One of our fellas came in first week, wrote down 5 outcomes. It was the last part of the day, and he left and unfortunately couldn't come back the next week. So the third week he came in. We had a makeup session before the rest of the kids actually were in session, and the kids helped him get through what we missed out on week 2. And he looked at, oh my goodness, I've got 3 of these outcomes already manifested. I've got a job, I'm making some money, my home life has changed. I mean, these are pretty big knocks. And he was just thrilled to see that. He wrote it down, he went away, and all of a sudden he has them in his life, and he didn't think that they could change. He felt really stuck when he wrote them down. Otherwise he wouldn't, have written them down. And then the 4th week we talk about there's nothing we want more than this outcome. There's no ambivalence around it. It's the desired outcome. And we look at something from the opposite direction, and we're willing to ask hard and powerful the questions like, how is this going to impact my family, friends, finances? How is this going to enhance me spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally? Is this outcome going to really be the best for all concerned? So we do a little evaluation at that point. And then in week 5, the topic is there's no unconscious guilt stopping us from deserving what we have for this outcome. The guilt factor is usually generated by something that happened years ago that you barely remember and no one else remembers at all. So those deep, dark secrets that have never been exposed to the light of day, there's a tremendous release that happens when you uncover those and let go of those. By the time we repeat over and over that there's no guilt stopping us from deserving what we have, we usually see that we believe it. And then the 6th one is that approach everything with gratitude. And I shared about that in our, in the introduction here, how we think about 10 things that we're grateful for. If you start seeing opportunity in every situation, you'll find it easier to manifest and spend a lot of time acknowledging that things have come to you. So say it often that, thank you, God, for what you've given to me. I appreciate all that I have. The universe appears to respond better when we have positive energy going in its direction. The 7th topic is that you understand that your job is in the process of understanding and putting in the what, not the how or the why. How and why is really up to your higher source on how that manifests or comes to you. And it might look differently than what you project out. But once you figure out what it is you want and have released all the limitations from the previous steps, just step back and let the universe do its thing. Well, it's important to clarify the details of what you want. It is critical of you to let go the need to control the outcomes. You want and have things coming to you, but controlling how it gets to you sometimes can waylay it from actually just coming effortlessly. So why would you do anything that would limit ourselves to what we want and what we need? Whether it's love or compassion or patience, those are things that we can write down as well and focus on. And not that we want to have a whole lot of situations where we're going to be patient or a whole lot of situations where we're going to have to let up control. We're not looking at trying to manifest things that are difficult. This is something that's going to be easy and full of fun and life, and to have a sense of humor about it. And then the 8th one is, this is where we take action that is congruent with what you say you want. And we show the God and the universe that we're serious. Although this seems like it might contradict the 7th tenet, it is an important component of successful manifestation that it appears as if we're taking action directly focused on what that outcome is.
You're so ready and willing to take on what the power of intention does.
Wow.
So there's a good spectrum of people that I'm working with right now.
Okay. Well, I got a flavor of sort of your path, the general sort of applications that you do. Mm-hmm. Can you give me a couple of specific pieces maybe of people you've worked with that were, 1 or 2 people that have kind of had some outcomes that you were very, very pleased with?
Oh, sure. I have a client that has been recovering from leukemia for 10 years. He's been cancer-free for 10 years, even though leukemia, they say you're never cured of. It's still latent and it's there. Okay. And he also had addictions and had been recovering for quite some time, 3 or 4 years from an addiction. And he came to me because he was isolating and not wanting to engage. He would go to his 12-step meeting, he'd go there and leave right away. And I sat with him and gave him some directions on how to kind of change some of that, like go to his meeting early, an hour early, so he could see some of the people before they got there or while they were coming, and to stay later, and if the group was going out for something after coffee or breakfast or whatever, to go and engage. And even if he stayed 5 minutes, he made the intention of being part of instead of being apart from.
So he started that. And there was a time where I was moving from one location to another, and he wanted to help me so badly because he had seen me helping other people in the community. But he wanted to help me. That was his way of saying, I need your help.
Nice.
So he showed up to do some landscaping for me and to do some handyman work for me and to do some, and all of a sudden he is thrown in with a group of people he doesn't know because I've got movers there, I've got packers there, I've got children there helping me. So he's having to find footing and engage with all of these people in different ways. And he really wants to just isolate, go in his car and go home the whole time. And he found some solace in change. Just right away, after a couple of days, you could see he changed. The light started coming back into his eyes, and he started looking more into your eyes.
Nice.
And I could see that presence was changing. And he has family that had difficulties as well, 3 daughters, and he's been able to, I want to say, man up and take some charge with how he's dealing with those relationships, where he was very introverted before.
Okay.
And he had a master's degree in education and didn't have a job, and so he was depressed about that. And I gave him some interviewing coaching. He had to go in front of a board, a committee of people, and he went in there like he was, you know, like on a talk show.
Cool.
Very direct, and he landed a job and he loves it, and he's working with teenagers as well. And he doesn't even think about his ailment because he's so engaged and happy in his life.
Marvelous.
So going from being an introvert and isolated, he's engaged in working with kids in his light. Absolutely.
Marvelous.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Good. Well, good story. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear it. Cool. Well, we're sort of at that part of the show where we'd like to sort of put a conclusion on here. So are there any lasting comments or messages that you'd like to leave with everyone?
Sure. I'd just like to summarize my practice. What I do is I develop workshops and support groups for people so we can learn together. I also do public speaking on manifestation, on addiction, self-esteem, and a number of other things. I also do development where I create curriculum so I can identify the best ways to bring and deliver information to people, and pattern changing. And those are the kind of the 3 of the most important ways that I can contribute. And then, of course, the one-on-one coaching. When I'm with someone, there's a spiritual merge that happens and we heal together, which is very dynamic and divine. It's very wonderful to experience someone else living in their light.
Marvelous. Very good. Good. Well, that brings us to the close of our program, and I'm so glad that you were here today. It was an awful lot of fun to find out more about you and what you do and how all that works together. And we hope that you've enjoyed it as well. Keep looking for us. We'll be having more practitioners here as the months go on. You will learn a little bit more about each one of us and what we do and how you can connect with us if this makes sense to you to have other natural complementary options for your health. Thanks a lot.